Hey guys, it's Jake. No, we didn't do a Christmas video. I was just filming this at my house, and this is the best backdrop I thought I had. Yeah, that's Christmas music playing. I don't know if you can hear it. Anyway, so you were all here for the prompt, so you know what the deal was, and we were thinking, how are we not going to offend anybody? That was honestly the most prominent thing on our mind, and we came up with, how does everybody sit every day? Because we were sitting. So, how are desks arranged? How does that affect how we learn or how teachers teach? Entertaining, maybe not. We tried to make it so, but anyway, we wrote it as an essay first, and then we filmed it, and then I edited it, and so here we go. Row upon row of desks, aligned so that each seat is equally spaced and set one in front of the other. Prim and proper and perfect. This is traditional style. For those of us who are vertically challenged, this style poses a problem unless we are placed directly in the front, and let's face it, nobody likes the first seat in the class. The smartboard is the perfect backdrop for teachers as they lecture front and center, all eyes on them. Traditional seating allows for the optimal view of the idle-minded wanderers, the during lecture whisperers, and worst of all, the in-class texters. Traditional seating gives teachers a stage from which to teach their lessons and a walkway to allow them to interact with their students. It makes cheating nearly impossible and talking across the room easily discernible. Traditional style keeps the teacher in control.
So, how do you arrange your desks? Is there a specific reason, pros and cons?
Okay, I guess as a math person I like to be organized, so rows and columns are always very appealing. I did try, I know there are a lot of other teachers do groups of desks, groups of 3 or 4, and I've tried that, and I think there's a lot of pros with that, with discussion, but what I found, maybe I have some chatty students, but it tended to be more devolved into personal conversations and away from the, I also tried like 2 U shapes and the same thing, very gregarious social students, and it was, so this kind of keeps them a little more focused on the board.
The group category is a very common organizational system for classrooms because of its support of discussion, easy project collaboration, as well as leaving open the option for independent work. In many science classrooms, there is a group setup, for labs and other activities can be bettered by student collaboration. Labs can also be difficult, and the group setup encourages students to help each other and enables kinesthetic learners. This group setup is in many other classrooms, especially those that assign or encourage projects, where the necessity of desks being together is quite frequent, so the group setup is in reality a time saver and more efficient. This setup also takes the center of attention off of the teacher, getting the students to look to each other and depend on themselves to find the answers. There are also a few negatives to the group setup. For one, it is more difficult for a teacher to gain control or attention, for the students become engaged in their own conversations and often not on topic of the class. Also, independent work is harder to keep independent, and cheating and texting are most easily hidden in the group setting. The discussion layout is a mix of both the traditional and group styles. Like the group setup, discussion encourages conversation by having students face each other, usually in a circle or runway setup. Like the traditional style, discussion allows for lecturing by allowing the teacher a stage to stand on and teach from. Discussion has its own benefits. It allows students to face each other and carry on conversation and arguments without the closeness or privacy of the group setup. This makes it possible to carry on productive classroom discussions, which the teacher can more easily supervise. Unlike the group setup, the discussion setup allows conversation while providing some control to the teacher, who can easily call the student's attention from the front or stage of the room. If the teacher wishes to lecture, however, and hopes to use visuals such as a whiteboard, the discussion setup creates a problem. Students' views are often obstructed by their peers' heads, and the setup calls for major contortion and unusual head angles if a student wishes to see the board. And so, paying attention to a lecture takes double the effort, and most students eventually give up and find alternate ways to entertain themselves. The discussion style also leads to many awkward moments, such as the across-the-room stare-down, silent or sign language conversations, or death glares, which are far more frequent after staring at your peers for an hour during long block. These awkward moments should make anyone think twice before endorsing an open discussion setup.
The pros and cons.
Yes.
So do you want to kind of film around so you can
Sure.
see what it's like while I talk?
Oh, goodness.
So I arrange a room this way for many reasons. One, if students are working, typically they have to face the wall so I can see what they're doing on their laptops. Doesn't apply to seniors, but it's very helpful with sophomores. Two, if I have, say, a class of 20 students and I want to focus on just 6 students, then I have them in the middle in the center table, and we have a name for that table, and then they can kind of grade each other or grade themselves and have conversations in a small group setting. And then 3, I don't feel like the teacher should be the center of the room. So this way it kind of, you don't really know where the center of attention is, but when you're talking then you are. So like if Chris would speak up, he would be the center of the room right now, and it kind of floats around. So that's why I arranged it this way. Cons that I can't write on the board. And then when I'm showing, when I'm working on a PowerPoint or some kind of presentation, it's hard to get everybody facing the same way, but we live with that.
Cool.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, the transition style is a little different. See, the film playing behind doesn't actually signify a transition style room, because in order to do that, you'd have to like set up a camera and make a montage of it or something like that, because the point is, the room actually changes from day to day. It changes according to what the teacher's doing. See, the problem with each of the other styles is that there's a problem contextually. If the teacher is giving a lecture, the group style is not ideal, but if a teacher is doing a group project, the traditional style isn't ideal. So the transition style, we think, is best because it best suits what the teacher is doing that day, which is really what's important. Having a set style every day doesn't aid the students when you have a style that's contradictory to what you're actually doing that day.
Like how you organize your classroom.
Just the group arranging in one space.
Okay.
There's a lot of versatility when I do the large groups, which is what I actually try to do. With the large groups, they're actually, I could do subgroups of 3, so I have pods of 6, which allows me to move throughout the classroom, but I can do groups of 3 or I can do pairs, so it's very versatile. So depending on the topic we're doing, and then I can always like surprise people and pair them with something different. Or even just by switching one person on the station, I can change up the energy of the group at that station.
So you change up the way that you actually organize your desk just according to whatever you're trying to do that day?
Based on the lesson plan and the expectations, yes.
Interesting.